highly welcome to this session on invoicing, which is actually organized by the Digalo Consulting Group. My name is Mr. Dixon Akam. I'm the CEO of the Digalo Consulting Group. I'm a chartered accountant, a fellow chartered accountant, and a holder of a master's degree in professional accounting from the University of London. We are about to have a conversation today on what e-invoicing is all about and its implementation in the UAE. Before we can proceed with e-invoicing with our conversation for today, we just want to say a little bit about the Decalo Consulting Group and our service offerings. Then from there, we're going to be getting an introduction from my team member there. So the Decalo Consulting Group is a management consulting firm which offers a range of management consulting services ranging from business setup, where we focus on helping companies that want to get incorporated across the Middle East, in Africa, as well as in the US, where now we can help companies to get incorporated in the US, even though they are not actually a resident in the US. So currently, the Decalo Consulting Group is facilitating company incorporation in Lagos, Nigeria, Douala in Cameroon, in Mauritius, in Seychelles, Panama, the US, as well as in the UAE. So, at the level of our business setup and incorporation service, we help to facilitate working with our partners to make the business setup and incorporation process very, very easy, as well as support our clients in their compliance and tax related issues so as to ensure that they are able to comply with the relevant taxes in the country in which they are. And the other service which the Decalo Consulting Group offers is that we offer accounting and bookkeeping services, where we offer outsourced bookkeeping to companies that maybe do not want to maintain a permanent accounting team, or maybe because of the cost or because of the difficulty in actually hiring a team, and given that it's actually expensive. So we offer outsourced bookkeeping to companies across the globe, where we make use of QuickBooks, Zero, and any other suitable accounting software that the company may actually want. And then at the level of our taxation function, we help businesses to be able to optimize their global tax liabilities, where we help not only in making them comply with the laws, with the taxation system, with the taxation laws where they are doing business. However, we equally help them to be able to see how we can enable them to optimize or reduce their global tax liability, especially if they're a multinational corporation. Again, we understand that a lot of businesses want to do business in Africa, but they don't know how to go about it. Africa is the future. Everybody's talking about Africa is the future. There are a lot of businesses, a lot of individuals across the Middle East, across the European market, across America and China and the rest of the world, across the Asian market, that want to have a piece of the African market. But the challenge is that most of them do not really understand how they can penetrate the African market, whether through acquisition or through growth. In this slide, the Decalo Consulting Group facilitates the entry of any company in the rest of the world that wants to do business in Africa, maybe through acquisition or through organic growth or through in a joint venture or through appointing a local distributor. We at the Decalo Consulting are able to help you in conducting a proper due diligence that will enable you to be able to identify a suitable business partner that you can all trade together. And one of the most important services the Decalo Consulting Group also offers is recruitment. As a business, as a CEO, as a company founder, you cannot achieve the vision which you have set for your company in isolation. The more reason why the Decalo Consulting Group is there to be able to help you to be able to identify talents that can fit within your organizational culture, talents that can fit within your dream, that can help you to be able to achieve the dream which you have for your company or the dream which you have for your establishment. And above all, the Decalo Consulting Group also offers management consulting. At the level of management consulting, we help companies in reviewing their processes, in reviewing their performance, in reviewing their financials, in reviewing their organizational structure, in reviewing their their operations depending on whatever challenge they are facing at that particular time, and we're able to identify what could be the main reasons that are affecting their operations, and then make a recommendations to the company to take action in order to improve on the corporate performance of the company. Again, like I've said, our essence for this meeting today is about the implementation of e-invoicing in the UAE. That was just an intro to make you to get to have a good knowledge, to have an understanding about what the Decalo Consulting Group is all about. Again, I can't talk about the Decalo Consulting Group without talking about an innovation which was just introduced, a new product which was introduced on the 31st of November 2025. The Decalo Consulting Group was able to look at the recruitment industry, and we realize that there are a lot of challenges, issues were happening where there are cases where a company, after having conducted interviews, they have selected the best candidate and they want to recruit that the candidate now. They start conducting their background checks, maybe only at that end where they have already selected the best candidate. Maybe at the end of the day, they realize that the candidate is not having the necessary certification, or maybe the candidate is not having the necessary academic profile, or the reference letters cannot be gotten maybe from previous employers, which means that there are possibilities that the candidate was not actually honest from the onset in the recruitment process. So at the level of this, when we looked at this challenge, at this problem within the Decalo Consulting Group, we were able to come up with a solution to it by creating what we call the prevented recruitment. Prevented recruitment equally have what we call a prevented recruitment platform, which is like a job board, like any other job board. But the difference at the level of the prevented recruitment job board is that we prevent all the candidates as well as the employers before they make any job available. Let's take an example. For employers, before you post a job there, we need to prevent your documents. We need to prevent that the job is actually real. You have to give full information, your trade license. You have to give full information about the job, the salary. We carry our background information about the company, and it is only when we are satisfied that we make available to the public. Now, at the level of candidates, traditional job boards simply want candidates to upload their CVs, but at the level of the prevented recruitment platforms, candidates are not only required to submit their CVs, but rather candidates are required to submit their CVs. In addition, they are required to submit In addition, they are required to submit their highest attested certificates. They're equally required to submit their reference letters for previous employers as proof of the fact that they have actually gotten the work experience which they are operating to include within their resumes. So this actually makes it very easy, because for any employer recruiting on our platform, because these candidates have already been pre-vetted, and we are sure we have been able to verify that whatever they are saying in their resumes are things that can be accepted, or are things that have been verified, the more reasons why they are available on our platform. Thus, requesting anyone to carry an employment for potential employers or potential candidates who are looking for employment opportunities. Kindly visit www.prevented.recruitment.com and create a profile there. For sure, like I've explained, you'll be expected to upload all the documents which I've actually explained here in my presentation. Again, not to take much of our time, to focus on the topic of the day, I'll be giving this opportunity to my colleague here, Madam Cadivet, who is a tax expert, who's a tax specialist, to be able to make a presentation, to make a case on what the implementation of e-invoicing is all about today. In the first instance, she's going to be introducing herself. She's a chartered accountant as well, and will be joining us all the way from the capital of the UAE, which is in Abu Dhabi. So, Madam Khan, I'll be giving you the floor to introduce yourself first, and then we can then start discussing about our topic for the day. Once more, you're highly welcome.
Thank you for having me today on stage, Sadikalo. My name is Khan Yvette. I'm an ACCA member, and I am excited for the opportunity you've given to me today to participate in the discussions regarding UAE e-invoicing implementation, and the VAT compliance and audit procedures. And I will continue with the presentation regarding regarding the few points that I have here for today. And at the end of the day, we will have some. Sorry about that. At the end of the day, we will have some key takeaways regarding the framework about the UAE e-invoicing as a whole, what it entails, and how it impacts compliance, audit procedures, and so on.
Okay, thanks once more, Madam Yvette, for the short intro. Here, like you said, she's
Yeah.
an ACCA member and has been an expert with the with taxes and is very familiar with issues related to UAE corporate tax, UAE VAT, and audit related. So, in this session, Madam Khan, I want you to tell our audience a little bit about e-invoicing. Most of them, when they hear about e-invoicing, they are doubting what it means because they know that already we are already raising and issuing invoices from accounting or computerized systems. When you talk about e-invoicing, what does it mean?
Okay. Traditionally, we raise invoices from our accounting systems, but now the UAE regulatory system requires us to adopt a new technological system called the e-invoicing system. With that, you are not focusing on the traditional method. You do what we call, you issue an e-invoice electronically, which is being sent through and the accredited service provider for checks before it's being issued to the FTA. So it's an invoice system that is being issued electronically, and it's being sent to an to FTA electronically for real-time review. With the traditional system, we used to, the FTA will review after the things have been done. But with the e-invoicing system as of now, it's a real-time review. Immediately, your invoice is being raised and issued through that system, often called the PEPO system. It's being reviewed on real time. So it gives them to realize mistakes early, check and audit what they want to see early enough. Not like you do the things and then later on they come up for review. No, it gives them a real-time review.
I think that's a brief explanation. If just to reiterate, if I may follow up, you're just saying that if we want to take an example
Yes.
that the Dicalo Consulting Group wants to bill a client, let's say they are billing Dicalo Consulting Limited in Lagos, Nigeria, or let's say they want to
Okay.
bill an entity within the UAE. Let's take an entity within the
Yes.
UAE.
Okay.
Under the e-invoice system, it means that the Dicalo Consulting firm, first of all, needs to be registered with a recognized agent, which is like a tech company approved by the FC. Am I right?
You are right. Exactly.
And then once we are registered and onboarded with this approved service provider, the next phase is that if we raised an invoice to our client, we are not going to traditionally, we simply raise that invoice from our ERP and maybe send it to the client through email. Or if we are using a good system, we can also send it directly from our ERP to the client, which means that from what you're saying, that is now you're referring to this as a traditional approach. And
Yes,
now
that
you're
is the
saying that the
traditional
modern
approach.
approach with the advent of e-invoicing, it means that the Dicalo Consulting Group, after having been onboarded by an approved service provider by the FTA, will now raise this invoice in this system, which will automatically be sent to the FTA for review. And then from there, the FTA is
Yes.
going to send the invoice to the client, or they're going to approve for the Dicalo consulting firm to now send it to the invoice to the client. What is the right?
Okay. The 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 the, the service, the accredited service provider is in the middle. It's an intermediary between the business, its client, and the FTA.
Okay, interesting. So in essence,
So when you raise the invoice, it goes to this accredited service provider like ASP. Then they review for compliance. They review for errors. That is where they flag errors, and then they can send the invoice back to you for errors correction. And then everything is okay. Now they send it to the FTA. They will approve it and send it to FTA. At the same time, they also send a copy to your client.
Okay. Now you say that once the approved service provider is satisfied with the invoice, a copy of the invoice is sent directly to the FTA and equally sent to the client. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let us assume that so the process is completely different now. We don't need to send no invoice to client through email or through our direct ERP, which means that the FTA receives the invoices even before the client.
Yes, it's a real time. It's a real time that is an automatic system. Immediately they approve. Immediately the accredited service providers approve the invoice that everything is okay regarding compliance and errors. Then they send it immediately to FTA, and immediately it goes also to your client. It's very, very fast. Just within a twinkle of an eye, it's gone.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so again, I have another question. What happens
if
sir. What are the thresholds? For sure, we know e-invoicing is going to apply mostly for B2B businesses. Am I right?
Yes, B2B businesses. You are right.
Yeah, because if we take an example, say B2C, somebody who's traveling from the airport and wants to buy something, you will not say you want to raise the invoice and send through a third party to approve. The customer has to wait. And then once it is approved, then they receive the invoice or things like that. Okay, I want us to look at the thresholds. Is it mandatory that all companies will start implementing e-invoicing immediately? So please, I want you to tell us more about the deadline or the revenue threshold of companies that are expected to enroll for invoicing. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, the rollout on the e-invoicing is in phases.
Okay.
Businesses with annual revenue of more than 50 million, they must appoint an accredited service provider by the 31st of July, 2026.
Okay.
And they must start mandatory invoicing from 1st of January, 2027.
Okay.
And business with an annual revenue below 50 million, they must appoint an accredited service provider by the 31st of March 2027 and enroll by 1st of July 2027.
Okay.
So with government entities, they must appoint an accredited service provider by the 31st of March 2027. So in essence, just appointing an accredited service provider, you are being compliant with what FTA needs from you. Failure to do that would lead to penalties.
Okay, interesting. So now you say that depending on the revenue of the company, companies making 50 million and above
50 million. Yes.
have to have early adoption.
Yes, they have early adoption.
Okay.
31st
And then
July
companies,
2026.
okay, and then companies below that have a different threshold. They have a different period that they're supposed to comply. Now, let me ask a technical question here. Let us assume that you have raised this invoice. Say today, invoice approved by this third party, invoice sent to the tax authorities, sent to the client, and maybe because of one thing or the other, you want to raise a credit note to this effect on the following day. What is the procedure relating to that invoice?
Yes, you raise a credit note pertaining to that particular invoice with a reference to the invoice number.
Okay.
And that invoice will go through the normal system. It will still pass through the accredited service providers, and they will review it for compliance and errors. Then from there, they can send it to the FTAO and to the client. Everything goes in through the normal e-invoicing system. You cannot escape that.
Okay, now you're saying that if you want to raise a credit note, normally, traditionally, it's obvious when you're raising a credit note, even in our traditional ERPs, it is equally a requirement that you have to mention the invoice for which you are raising a credit note.
Reference.
So, in essence, you're saying
Yes.
that if you must raise any credit note for, say, an invoice raised today, on the following day, it's mandatory that you need to mention the invoice number for which you're raising the credit note. What happens if
Yes.
you don't
Correct.
mention the invoice number?
If you don't mention the invoice note, that will be flagged out by FTA.
Okay. In essence,
By
if
no, it will be sorry, it will be flagged
service
out
provider,
by the accredited service provider, because the main function, their main responsibility is to check if there are any errors or compliance issues.
okay, interesting.
Mean,
Now you're saying
meaning
that if there's
meaning
if okay, you're saying
me-
that if
meaning
they
yeah.
also again, I think this is really good because this service provider is like a middleman, and at the same time, it's like a check, it's like an invoice checker for both the FTA and the company. So I think most companies they may not need invoice checkers because already there's a third party that is helping to review and validate the process.
Okay. Here comes an issue. When you say most companies may not need an invoice checker, you need to build your system in the same field like that of the accredited service providers field. So they can easily map the data. The data
Okay,
can easily be mapped. The invoice data can easily be mapped from your field to corresponding to what they have to the fields required by FTA. So failure to
interesting.
have that data in the system, updated to the standard fields that FTA requires, your invoices risks always returning from the accredited service provider.
Yeah, I've just received a question here,
Okay.
and this uh, attendee is like, we have discussed a lot about e-invoicing when it comes to B2C, where we say it's not applicable. We have also discussed a lot about e-invoicing when it comes to B2B, and we have
Mm.
explained how it operates. Now we understand that a majority of the companies that operate within the UAE are multinational companies. Is e-invoicing applicable for international companies? Let's assume that you want to invoice a client in the UK or in the US or in, say, Lagos, Nigeria, or say in Abidjan in Cote d'Ivoire. And we know that for sure for our VAT, there's no VAT here. These are reverse, these are transactions that are subject to reverse charges. So is invoicing applicable on this or not?
On the multinational companies, I've not
When
yet
you're
done
billing
some
international,
research.
okay, okay. So we'll look at that again. I think in the next session, we're going to focus on trying to look at e-invoicing when it comes to dealing with multinational corporations. So again, you raise a lot of issues when it comes to VAT compliance and tax audits. Can you explain how the audit implications or audit requirements as well as VAT requirements when it comes to e-invoicing?
Yeah, with the e-invoicing, VAT compliance is mostly system based.
Okay.
As I mentioned earlier, during the traditional method, they will have to check invoices to make sure that the invoices comply with the FTA required standards. But with the e-invoicing system, compliance is mostly based on the system itself.
Okay.
You need to
So
make sure, yeah.
let me explain to our audience what you're saying. The
Okay.
traditional system, the traditional system was that a company makes their sales, generate their sales, incur their expenses for the
Yes.
past three, for each quarter,
Yeah.
maintain that internally within their financial, within their company. And at the end of the quarter, now they prepare what we call a tax return, which they file on the FTA platform.
Yeah.
Which means that as at that point in time, the FTA does not know how much they are supposed to pay as tax.
Yeah.
The FTA does not know how much VAT they're going to collect from company A, B, C, D
Yeah.
at the end of each quarter. Maybe from a trend analysis, looking at historical data, they can maybe a little bit forecast to say, okay, maybe we receive X amount from company A in this quarter. In this quarter, we may receive. So it was really difficult for the FTA to make their strategic planning or to carry out their budgeting and the rest when it comes to the revenue they're going to generate from VAT. But now, again, even if the company did not actually disclose the full value of the invoices which they had invoiced during the period, it was also very difficult for the FT to be able to identify or to be able to sort out these transactions. Now
Yeah.
with e-invoicing,
Yes.
all things being equal, knowing that all companies are going to comply, even before a company prepares their quarterly return, the tax authorities already know the amount of revenue that they're
Yes.
expecting to receive from company A as VAT.
Yes. Yeah.
So if they file any amount less or above that, and given that the invoice numbers are also going to be provided, it will be very easy for the FTA maybe to carry out internal reconciliation to identify where there is an issue. And from there, they already can know that the tax return has an issue or not. So I think this is a very
Yes.
huge information. It's going to go
Yes.
a long way to boost on the revenue collection and increase the revenue collection of the FTA and minimize any possibilities of errors, because there are some situations where companies may generate a revenue in quarter A and maybe try to file it in quarter B. But with
Yes.
this system of e-invoicing that has been introduced by the FTA, it's going to reduce the possibility of those errors occurring, because if
Yes.
there's anything like that happening in the system, the
Mm.
FTA automatically can flag that from their system.
Yeah.
Because if the company is maintaining a revenue of say $5 million or dirhams, the FTA is already maintaining that revenue value as well as the VAT accruing from that. It becomes very,
Yes.
very difficult for the company to go and declare say 4 million or 3 million when the
Yes.
FTA already has the correct value. So I think this is a great opportunity to minimize any errors or any wrongdoing as far as the VAT collection is concerned. So, beside
Yes.
this, what other important information can you tell our audience about e-invoicing and why many countries, I think in Nigeria already, they are working on also implementing e-invoicing. In Nigeria, they have been having a lot of working sessions, I think some organized by PwC and the rest and other local firms to try to discuss on the importance of e-invoicing and how it's going to affect revenue collection and collectability of the government. So,
Yeah.
will you suggest other governments across the globe to go in for e-invoicing, especially in Africa?
And well, yeah,
Anyway,
my country, especially Cameroon, had it been we had something like like an invoicing system in Cameroon, I think so many things would be corrected. Like
okay.
even the revenue generation that we are talking about, we will have like we will have a clue on what is actually happened, because it's just a mixed up. There is just a mixed up. You don't know what is happening at each time, because I know also the government has an account to give regarding the tax they collect. And I know there are projects that they use the tax which they collect to handle those projects in that particular country. So for a country like Cameroon, had it been we had a system that is like being regularized like this e-invoicing, then things will be much better.
Okay. In essence,
Yeah.
she's advocating that developing countries can already start looking at possibilities of introducing some elements of e-invoicing. Developing countries do not really have advanced taxation experts. The more reason why most multinational companies take advantage of developing economies. So one of the ways that developing can actually improve on their revenue collections. Again, the truth is that with the introduction of e-invoicing, it is not only going to help to boost transparency and improve on the collection of revenue by the FTA, it is equally going to go a long way to increase on the transparency when it comes to corporate tax.
Correct, sir.
Because at the end of the day, from this data also, we can already trace and track whatever revenue a company has generated over the period of time, whether the revenue is actually subjected to VAT or not, especially if it is internally generated. So I think these are very good innovations, and I think other African countries should follow suit, just like Nigeria is doing, to see how they can start evaluating on the possibilities of introducing e-invoicing within their countries, especially same at the level of B2B, and to
Yes.
see how they can improve the collections of the revenue, and also increase on the transparency of how the funds are being used within the company or within the country, to ensure that they're able to boost on economic growth and development within the economics. I think it was a pleasure having this session. Madam Khan, we're just going to give some few minutes. Maybe if our audience have some questions, they can just ask us. Otherwise, I
Okay.
think we have really discussed a lot about e-invoicing, and in our next session, we can on discussing on how to account for e-invoicing when it comes to dealing with international transactions. Well, that's something which I
Exactly.
actually avoided in this session, so that we can organize another session, maybe say next week or a month to come, to discuss and enable our audience to understand more on how to deal with e-invoicing when it comes to the Dicale consulting firm. I think we have somebody who's trying to join us.
Okay.
That profile will actually not change too much.
Hello?
That is a code runner.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, Mr. Prince?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you're highly welcome to this
Thank,
session organized by the Dicale Consulting Group. Do you have any question for us?
thank you so much.
You're welcome. You have any question about e-invoicing or about the Dicale Consulting Group?
No, I just want to get some interest of the discussions before I can ask a question.
Okay,
The,
okay.
the,
It's so unfortunate that we are almost coming to the end of the session. So we are currently taking questions now. So now that you're just joining now, I don't know. Do you have any question? Because the session has been going on for more than 36 minutes now.
sorry, sir. Certainly next time. Next time.
Okay, okay. So you just wanted to know more about e-invoicing, or what specifically are you interested in knowing about the session? What actually draw your interest? Oh, we lost him. We lost him. Yeah, so it's so unfortunate. Actually, he joined a little bit late. So please, if you have your question or if you want to take
Okay.
the, you want us to bring you live, feel free to join us in this session, ask any question, and my audience, my colleague here, Carnival, and I will be more than willing to see how we can help you out. In the meantime, while we wait for you to present your questions, again, like I've said, the Digalo Consulting Group also offers international tax advisory, where we help companies to see how they can minimize their global tax liabilities. We understand that there are high tax zones. We understand that there are low tax zones. We understand that there are countries that have a very high tax rate. There are countries that have a very low tax rate. There are countries that have a moderate tax rate. There are countries that do not have taxes. So, as a multinational company or as a multinational, you need to if you're operating and running business in all these countries, you need to see how you can structure your operations in a way that you can optimize your taxes within the limits of the law. How you can reduce your global tax liability while making sure that you adhere to any applicable tax and regulations and respecting the principles of transfer pricing. So I'm just going to ask a question now. Madam Yvette, can you just tell our audience a little bit about, we have been serving a lot of clients within our firm on VAT, corporate tax, and transfer pricing. Can you just throw a little bit of light to our audience on what transfer price is all about? And maybe from there, if we don't have any questions, we can close the session.
Well, transfer pricing is all about making sure that the price you give to related parties, the price at which you sell goods to related party, it's the same as the price that you will sell that same goods to an ordinary person. Making sure those prices are at arm's length.
Okay. In excellence,
Yes.
she's saying that when it comes to the corporate tax laws, or when it comes to transfer price and fair value or arm's length dealing, the law, the corporate tax law in the UAE requires that any transactions which occur between related parties are parties that in one way or the other affect or can be affected by the activities of the other organization. Let's assume that maybe it's a parent company that owns a subsidiary, or maybe it's a parent company that has an interest in another company, or maybe they are related directly or indirectly. So in essence, we're seeing that if you are dealing with transactions between the parent company and the subsidiary, let's take an example that you're a company that offers professional training for, say, corporate tax or VAT, and you have a subsidiary that maybe wants to train their accounting team on, say, e-invoicing or on VAT and corporate tax, and there's another external client that has no relationship to your company. Let us assume that the external company, you charge them. Let's say you have 2, 3 other external clients. You charge them, say, 2,000 dirhams per candidate to attend the training. You already charge that to 3, 4 companies. Now you have a company within your group that wants that same service. Because of the fact that you want to mitigate your taxes, or you want to take advantage of the tax system, you may now decide to say you want to charge 10,000, or you want to charge 1,500, or you want to charge 1,000, depending on the motive that you want to achieve, such a price discrimination. Now, if you do such a practice, according to the corporate tax law, if we assume that other similar companies, other competitors are also charging 2,000 or 2,1 or 2,2, and then because of the fact that you're dealing with a company within your group now, or you want to report less or more revenue, you go and charge too much or too less, it means that that is unacceptable under the UAE corporate tax law. Why? It means that the transaction is not at arm's length. Why is it not at arm's length? Why is it not at fair value? The actual prevailing market price of that service, if you benchmark and look at other service providers, is 2,000, and that is the same amount you'll be charging to other companies. So why are you being indifferent when it comes to dealing with a company that is doing your portfolio? Again, like we have said, it is natural, it is inherent that that tendency will always occur. But again, the corporate tax law in the UAE and even group accounting reporting standards and international accounting standards are against that practice. The more reason why all intercompany transactions are normally eliminated when they are doing any group consult. So in order to make sure that you comply with the FTA laws and regulations when it comes to fair value, you have to ensure that even when you are trading with companies within your portfolio or with group members, you have to make sure that you trade at the prevailing market prices without without giving or taking any unfair advantage. That is what we talk
Yes.
about transfer pricing.
Sure.
If you have any question, please feel free to reach out. We are here to help you, to assist you. This is the end of the financial year. We are also helping companies to file their VAT returns, file their corporate tax returns, irrespective of where you are. We are available at your service, making sure that we advise you on how you can maintain and keep proper accounting record in accordance with international accounting standards and international financial reporting standards, and also making sure that you adhere to all FTA, VAT, and corporate tax laws. You are able to comply so that you don't have any fines. Making sure that your VAT return is filed before the 28th of the following month. Making sure that you are conducting business and maintaining proper accounting records in accordance with the requirements of the corporate tax law, and making sure that all your accounts are kept in a very secured place where at any point in time, if the FCA wants to audit your account, you can always make them available.
Yes.
If you're running a big business, you're running a small business, and maybe because of one reason or the other, you think that you don't want to maintain an accountant, you don't want to employ a permanent accountant because you think it's expensive, visas to them, you need to pay maybe a lot of salaries to them. The Digalo Consulting Group is corner where we help you to maintain your accounting records on your behalf at a very affordable fee, depending on whatever system you want. You may want real time, you may want to have access to your system where you want to use QuickBooks or any online platform. We are at your disposal. So if you want to book a consultation with us, you can reach out to us via consulting@dicalo.com, or you can just visit our website via www.dicalo.com. Dicalo is spelled as DICALOO.com. So if you visit our website, you just go to where you have client onboarding. When you go to where you have onboarding, you'll be able to fill our client onboarding form, and then you explain to us whichever service you are interested in. Again, like you've said, we are also helping to connect companies that are doing business in Africa with investors that are in the UAE, and at the same time, connecting investors that are in the UAE with businesses that are operating in Africa. So Africa is the future. Africa is a virgin market with a lot of opportunities where the population is estimated to reach 50 million in a couple of years to come. So this is the right time for companies, for high net worth individuals, or for multinational companies that want to do business. And again, like I've explained, the Dicalo Consulting Group has a good mastery of the African market. We will be more than willing to help and facilitate your process of doing business within the African market. It was a pleasure making this presentation today. I was so happy having Madam Khan here today. And Madam Khan, before we end our session, what do you have to say to our audience? Enjoy the session, and what do you want to say?
Yes, I want to say, I want to just give a roundup about this e-invoices issue.
Okay.
E-invoicing is not, even if you didn't have anything, you should take this in mind.
Okay.
E-invoicing is not about sending PDF files or emails to clients. It is about using an electronic system that will generate your invoicing using a standard structure that has been approved by FTA to the accredited service provider, and then finally to FTA. So make sure your system aligns with what FTA requires. If you don't have any accredited service provider, get one.
Okay.
In order to stay compliant.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay, I think she has. I think very simple. In essence, she's saying that what you have to make sure if your revenue is 50 and above, you have to make sure you look for an approved service provider by the FTA. Approved. It must be approved by the FCA because the invoices will be subject to check, review, and approve and sent to the FCA and the client automatically. So if
Yes.
the third party is not approved, you are not expected to use it. If you use it, means you're not complying. So in
Yeah.
order to comply, we know that the cost of compliance is always more than the compliance. So in
Yes.
order to save costs, to minimize costs, make sure you check and look for an approved service provider that will help you on your onboarding and facilitate your e-invoicing journey with ease. Again, Madam Kind, it was a pleasure bringing you on this session. I just hope with time again, we'll bring you on board to discuss on many other issues that are related not only to the taxation system, but on how we can also attract investors that want to do business in Africa and how we can facilitate this process on their behalf. So, wishing you all a nice day. Thank everybody who was able to attend this session, even though we understand that it was at a very short notice. It was a pleasure and wish everybody a nice day. Goodbye.
Thank you so much for having me. Goodbye, sir.
Our pleasure too. Our pleasure too.
Thank you.